Oftentimes, we sit there and wonder, how did our values find themselves in our society? Well, lucky for us, I have a perfect juxtaposition: biology and the social sciences. And of course, now is the time to ask, how do two completely different fields connect? Well, both are studies of life, the former being how we have life and the latter how we live it. Take, for example, herd instinct, that feeling of imperative and necessity to follow suit whenever others do something. This principle, which is why we have trends and peer pressure, a principle as social as imagined, is as scientific as can be. It originates from thousands of years of evolving in hunting in packs, and according to a 2012 study, the amygdala and other areas of the brain that dictate rewards. We as humans also apply biological dogma into social life. For instance, Darwinism, the belief that evolution happens through natural selection, as nature selects the traits or phenotypes that are most apt for survival, corresponding to the genotypes or genes that prevail within an organism. We as humans interpreted and adopted this phenomenon into social Darwinism, a survival and prosperity between people, contingent on race and economic position. Social Darwinism was often demonstrated during the Gilded Age of United States history in order to justify the imperialism and domination of corporations and magnates within the time. Take a look at this image here of two men on steeds, one man titled Monopoly and the other poor soul on a donkey titled Labor. We all know that which one of these men are expected to win. However, inferring from where we are today, we also know of the hidden yet pervasive traits, the activisms, as our previous speaker mentioned, protests, new deals, and strikes, as you can see on this guy's hammer, that drowned out social Darwinism, binding it with antitrust laws and civil movements. Consequential of this is the fact that social Darwinism is significantly less popular today, oftentimes being associated with racism, eugenics, and the dying belief that the differences between humans are inherent. And quite ironically, the decline of this Darwinism highlights yet another Darwinism, one that is perhaps more profound. This is a Darwinism where we humans undergo natural selection not by our race and not by our economic position, but by our values and ways of life that dictate the very fabric of society as a whole. And yes, I know that you all know there were ways of life, rules, and beliefs that became obsolete as we progressed societally. That's not anything novel. However, when described in an evolutionary tongue, varying yet meaningful links can appear. Damn, that's the first example, as in the word. Now for some etymology. Originally in 14th century English, this word would mean dooming to eternal punishment, aligning with the very religious world at the time. Fast forward to the 16th century, this word gained a more profane connotation, a supposed first instance of this being in the anti-Anglican satirical religious treatise, Pap with Hatchet. The fact that this term takes part in such tensions is sensical, given the increasing religious dichotomy and spread of denominations, selecting a meaning of a word as its scape begins to shift. By the 18th century, the fire surrounding this word began to ease, as the traits of eternal punishment and profanity began to diminish, and in the modern day, it's even acceptable to use a word like this in a speech like this, sparingly, of course. Shifting to a more evolutionary perspective, allow me to introduce you to a phenomenon in biology known as the central dogma. An intricate array of nucleotides forming deoxyribonucleic acid, or DNA for short, are transcribed onto ribonucleic acids, which are then going to produce proteins and corresponding traits. Now consider the term to damn as a protein coded by the religious gene expressed in society at the time. Alongside this, there is an analogous protein, if you will, called, ready for this? To damn it protein, coded by the secularism gene. Each variant of the protein has a differing flavor and air to it. To damn in isolation, expressing the societal value of religious fear and zeal, which is now overshadowed by secularism and that spunky edge, with the flavor of coolness exuded by the idea of, the protein of, to damn it. Remember earlier how we mentioned certain terms and ideas that brought social Darwinism to its rare and recessive state that it belongs? Yet another instance of natural selection in society is in one of these terms. The New Deal and its birth of a modern American liberalism that has espoused itself around the world, even its socialism. A saving grace from the Great Depression, more and more people have begun subscribing to the values of the New Deal, the relief, recovery, and reform that began to pervade across the globe. At this time, I would like to bring your attention to this graph with Gen Z having the highest percentage of people wanting more governmental intervention. This is a notable statistic in itself. However, it is that pattern that we must discuss. This gradual gain of fitness to a particular cause. This, you see, is natural selection in action. As through the generations, this bar grows yellower and yellower, while the green begins to diminish until it potentially becomes unthinkable. There is this human disposition we have to bind into groups, prioritize our kinships over a state of nature's freedom, and consolidate our values into figureheads of society, to create society, melding it and pruning our values and visions in a like manner to the brain and to the neuron, or nature to the best camouflaged insect. We are more one than nature than we think, for the values of nature, which guide why we live, guide how we live. And so, hold your values tight. Select which ones guide you, for now you are nature, and choosing the principles most conducive to the advancement of you and your society. And if you need an explanation, just ask Darwin. Thank you.